Hello, everybody. This is going to be a 25 to 30-minute yoga practice for opening up the hips, an area we could all work on for the rest of our lives to have healthy, mobile hips. So we will start making sure you have supplies. You will need yoga blocks, a strap, and a bolster or foam roller or some pillows. We will start by warming up the spine with cat-cow. So on your hands and knees, start rounding and arching the back, allowing the spine to start to remember that it can be very flexible and mobile. As you move the spine, start to notice where you have more sensation, where you have less sensation. And remember that both the arms and the hips are ball and socket joints that have a huge amount of mobility, and we're really articulating around them. So come into your arch position now. Check that the hips feel that they're nice and wide, and start going back and forth just to isolate and expand the whole pelvic area. The sensation around the hips, both in the front and on the side. Especially think of widening the hips sideways. And don't forget to come forward as well, just to develop the shoulder girdle. Then round. In the rounding position, it's really easy to focus on the upper trunk, but see if you can really get that pelvis to curl under. And again, back and forth. Now with the focus of stretching out the lumbar spine and opening it up. So you want the stomach and abdominal area really pulled up. Think of the front hips and the low ribs getting as close as possible. And then just for a minute, open the knees a bit more. Take your hips back and extend the arms out and allow your head to drop. And just lengthen everything out. Take a deep breath in. Lengthen the spine, soften the hips, deep breath out. Breath in and look up at your hands. Walk the hands to the right and drop down. Lift your head up. Walk your hands to the left and drop down. Lift your head, come back to the center, come back, get your knees and feet parallel, curl the toes under, and press back to your first down dog. Lengthen the backs of the knees out and just walk the legs out a little bit to lengthen into the backs of the legs. This is really all just a warm-up till we get into a more intense, focused practice, just to get a sense of the whole body being connected up and feeling. The whole thing is getting some sensation and feeling. Bend the knees back, move the hands a little bit further forward, so now we're no longer in a box shape. Check that the creases of the elbows are going straight forward. Hinge the hips a little bit so you don't end up in this kind of a shape when you're going into down dog. And again, attempt to get the hinging in the hips so the pelvis is tilting over the hips, over the hip sockets. And then pull the kneecaps up and press away from the hands to create more length in the backs of the legs. Again, lift the heels up and walk the legs out to loosen up and stretch the calves. Lift both heels up, press away from your hands, lengthen the heels down. Check that you can feel as much of your body, get some length in your spine. Keep the stomach and the back relationship nicely balanced. And then bend the knees back. This time bring the feet together and sit back into your heels. Again, child's pose. Roll yourselves up to an upright position. And let's start by, for me, I like to start with some elevation in my pelvis. Not essential, but I got a bolster here. Nope, we're going to do this differently. We're going to open up the body first. So starting out, even though we're going into hips, place the bolster under your shoulder, your rib cage and head, and allow the chest to open. So my hands are externally rotated. And let's take a few nice big breaths, expanding the front ribs. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. One more time. Really be aware of how the rib cage can expand in under the armpits, even under the collarbones. Expand in the diaphragm and breathe out. Now take your elbows and take them over your head. Just stay here again, getting a little bit of a sense of length. And then bring the elbows up and change. So you same clasp, but opposite direction, expanding. So we're opening up the rib cage to allow the hips to move away from the rib cage. Bring the hands down and let's move this a little bit further forward. And now have your pelvis and your head on. And from here again, hold your elbows. So the chest is nicely opened. And now let's take one leg at a time and lengthen it out. So there's a bit more of a stretch in the abdominal area. The hip flexors may be dropping down. And you can adjust your placement depending on what feels good for you. I'm actually a little tall for this bolster, so I'm taking my head over the edge. Now my pelvis is on. Most importantly is just a nice sense of opening and traction and expansion in the whole front body, just to create a little bit of space. Now bend your knees, roll off, and I'm turning the bolster sideways. Again, you can be using a yoga block here. You can be using a foam roller. You can be using a pillow. So with this one movement, we're now starting to focus on the hips lifting and lengthening out. And this front area right here can get very, very tight on a universal level. We're going to start lengthening the legs out. See if you can do it without your low back getting short. You want to go all the way if you can. My left leg tends to be tight, so I'm not demonstrating a beautiful pose here. But you want the full traction, opening up this area. And please stay lying down because I'm going to turn in the other direction so you can have a better concept visually what needs to be done. So I'm tractioning my sacrum long, and then I'm working. So this is really what you're going for as a line. Notice that the pelvis is still long, and then you're allowing wherever your tissue is tight to start to elongate. Let's open the arms and just relax here for a minute. Make sure you're still breathing. Get in touch with your own body and just feel what's your story, what's your journey, what's going on in the tissue, what is ready to start to open and change and shift. Each and every pose that we're covering today, you can do on your own, You can take more time. It's parts of our bodies need time. In my case, I could spend easily 5 to 10 minutes just in this one pose to allow the left leg to elongate and lengthen. And I often do that, and it makes a big difference in the fraction of elongation of the tissue. Now from here, sitting, you want to bend both knees up. Take your left foot, in your case, maybe it'll be the right foot, and just bend it in. So we have this knee dropping down. Take a moment to bounce it. And then notice what I'm doing. I'm pulling my calf up and I'm bringing my other foot right up on the knee. So this foot is close to my bottom. This foot is on the knee. And using your hands, see if you can get a vertical sensation in the spine. You may or may not be able to. Hips are tricky, so you can be all crunched up and cradled up here. So give yourself time. This is a process. It takes time to really allow the joints to open. We all come from a Western culture where we sit and we stand and the hips never get full range of movement. So this takes time, but it is so important for the health of the body to work on it and eventually release this area. From here, if you want to, you bring the leg further up. Take your time here, loosening up, letting everything go. And let's do the other side. So you'll stretch your legs out, bounce your knees up and down, bend the feet, take your left foot, my foot is the right one, bend it, bounce it up and down if you need to. This is what you're looking for. If you're really tight or your hamstrings are tight, you may be here, which is fine, better than not being anywhere. Eventually, there is a ball and socket here. It should just hinge. It should be like a joint. That's what we're going for. So even if you're not there, even if you're far from this place, I want you to have that idea in your head that anatomically you're designed for that shape. And then you bring the other foot up on the knee and you bounce your knee up and down. You take a moment. You attempt to get this vertical alignment as much as you're able to. Take some breaths here. So we're externally rotating the legs. And now bring this foot closer up. And again, this is the equivalent of a half lotus position. If it's very tight, you should be sitting cross-legged right now. That's good for you too. Anything where the knees are bent and the knees are going out is the beginning of the journey towards this direction. Stretch your legs out. Bounce your knees up and down. And the next one, we turned our knees out. Now we turn our knees inwards. So for this one, I like to work with a bolster elevation, not essential, but nice to do for my body for a while. And you'll take one foot and you turn it in. So when you have this leg in, you want the foot and the calf is pulled out. If you notice, I have my calf rotated out and my hamstring pulled in. So eventually I can actually sit between the feet. The foot should be going straight back and the knee should be going straight forward. From there, take this leg and stretch it out. Let me turn to this direction so you can see. So we're aiming for both hips about the same height. If you're falling way over, no, I'm sorry, you would be falling this way, then you need to hike up the foot, the long leg, so that this hip can start to drop. So people who have a real hard time getting straight, just get 2 blocks, get 3 blocks, get as many blocks as you need. Let me do this. Here's 2 blocks. I've got it under my right hip, which gives me enough space to get this angle and then stretch the leg out. So just about anybody can get their hips even if you lift up the straight leg high enough. So figure it out in your own body. I don't need so much height myself. Once you're here, where's my strap? Let's take a yoga strap. And first of all, work to get the body vertical. So the verticality comes in this pelvis. This is where you're looking to have it. So the pelvis goes down and then the leg goes out. We're really looking at geometric angles. And when we cannot achieve those angles, you want to understand that that's what you're working towards. It's a very, very specific geometry that the human body can provide, and it's designed to have these capacities. So take heart and just keep that in mind, with the focus being right here. If you want to, you can stretch forward. Doesn't matter if you're not ready for the forward stretch. It matters that you're working and you're feeling the stretch and you're getting into the shape that's going to start to move the tissue. The body opens if you ask it to open. If it's never put into a certain point where the tissue is never asked to change shape, it doesn't. Why should it? The body's designed to save energy. But if, for example, you had to sit on the floor every day like this, you would, in a few months, be doing this very comfortably. Let's do the other side. So this is internal rotation. You go, take the other leg. Make sure your calf is pulled out. Your foot is in. So if you notice right now, I'm thrown sideways. That's what the pattern is for people. So you want to lift yourself up and get enough height so you can actually get squared off in the hips. Whatever height is needed to get that goal, that's what you're going for. And if you're not perfect, it's okay. Then get the strap, lift yourself up, see if you can get a sense of squareness in the hips. And then if you want to move on forward, do so. Now, these are intense poses. So you may feel a lot of congestion around the knees. Remember that calf on the outside of the hamstring. Please, the time to be respectful of tightness. And if you feel a very sharp pain under the kneecap, go find a real teacher. Get out of the pose and go find it. If there's tightness around the area of the knee, be respectful, but it's okay. You're stretching the attachments, and that just increases flexibility and reduces your tendency towards having an injury. So there's value in that. Take your time moving forward. And then come back up. Extend the leg out. And bounce the knees up and down. Now let's do external rotation again. So you'll be turning the leg out. Notice what I'm doing. I'm pulling my calf up and around. So I'm actually getting it out of the way so the knee will bend better. And then get the foot as high up as you can. If there is pressure on the quad, you roll the leg out. If you're tight and you have a big muscle here and you're pushing right straight down on it, it's not pleasant. Your goal eventually is to get high enough up that it's over that. But until that time comes, allow the leg to roll out. And we'll do the same thing. Strap, lift, and gradually extending forward. Some people can go flat down. Some people can hang on for dear life. It's all good. We're all in this journey together. The important thing is that you're doing the work. That's always the important thing. And the tension and tightness and struggle that you feel is part of your own unique journey. And your body will say thank you for really working into this tissue and freeing up potential that exists in you. Let's do the other side. Extending the leg out, relaxing the knees, rotating the other foot up, bringing the leg up, getting the leg as high up as you can. On this side, if your knee is up, my knee is up on this side, I like to give it some support. So as you can see, I've actually put a block under the knee so that the joint and the tissue relaxes better. When we have stiffness in an area of our body and it just flying in space, is a sensation of danger that doesn't allow the tissue to relax. So you always want to look for ways to give your body support, groundedness, and connection. And then it can go, oh, I can relax. I don't need to work so hard anymore. Time to let go. Job has been done. And all of us have tension and tightness and congestion in our bodies. To me, the body stores memory. It stores the history of our life. It's kind of a map of our past, and it's all there. So the more we can welcome, embrace, and accept the body we have as it is, and then gently unburden it and comfort and provide safety, the body turns off the stress. It lets go of the memory and it allows a new you to start to come out. And that's the deeper message of what a yoga practice or any spiritual practice is. And coming out of this one, stretching the leg out. I always like to bang the knees a little bit, shake them out, release them, release any tension that's accumulated from the stretch. And we're going back to internal rotation. And I'm going to work with a bolster now. So each of us, we have different tendencies. Turn in, turn out, stiff hips, legs that go this way, legs that go that way, legs that one goes this way, one goes that way. We want to find these patterns. We're now going with both legs internally rotated. So you will place your feet wider than your knees hip width apart. You grab your calves and then you lower yourself back onto the bolster. And first and foremost, or onto the floor, a lot of people sit like this totally comfortably. So wherever you're at, be glad. If you're stiff and tight, you raise yourself up. If it's impossible to have the knees apart, you have them together. See if you can find this angle of the trunk up and down and then the thighs forward versus some kind of collapse shape. That's kind of the goal. So at least you have a direction to evaluate your shape. Now from here, let's start hinging backwards. Now this is the trick with this one because a lot of times the low back and then the hip flexors are very, very tight. And we want this rotation of the pelvis to really open up the thighs and open up the hip flexors. So some people can go way, way, way back and just lie down. I cannot yet. At this stage in my life, I go through phases of the body doing more, doing less, and that's all good. So I'm putting more on, looking out for this beautiful sensation of stretch. I'm going to hold my head and attempt to relax and allow the tissue to open. And it actually feels magnificent. It's a strong stretch. For many people, this will be a strong stretch, but such a needed one in the modern world. Because again, many of us spend too much time sitting, looking at a computer, driving, eating, it's all sitting shapes. And the front body gets very contracted as a result and permanently tight. So this is one of those beautiful poses that reverses all of that and starts to open up the front body, the whole fascia, the connective tissue, the muscles, and creates a nice sense of opening and balance, which keeps you vertical and equal front and back. This is one of those poses I could spend half an hour in easily. And I highly recommend for you, if you feel restricted, take your time here and enjoy the transformation that can come from visiting it and allowing the body to remember it can let go. It can become long and loose again. Come back up if we're just doing this more short practice. And now, sitting with your legs in front of you, let's bang the knees out again. Bend the knees, bend one foot, and this time the knee is in front and the opposite leg is on top. So your goal is to get both feet by the sides of your hips and the knees are stacked one on top of the other. And if you're not there, you're part of my club. Me neither. But it's a fabulous stretch for the outer area, the IT band, outer hips. It can be profound and again, a very important stretch because we all get so tight in that area. So let the body kind of feel into it, expand, and just allow the magic to happen by hanging out here. If you're very, very tight, I tend to be in that category right now, you can have a block under your bottom. So if you notice, now it's easier for me to get the knees crossed and my hips are at the better angle to actually allow for openings. So if there's anything I can say, there is no disgrace in using the props that are right for you. You actually will progress more quickly by honoring your body and you're being exactly where you are. Don't try to be anybody else. Be yourself and magic happens because you gain power once you're being you. Let's do the other side. Stretch the legs out. Bounce them up and down. I'm adjusting the block. Nope, I want it widthwise. And let's see. Right leg under and left leg on top, or other leg on top. So this side very tight for me. So this is about the angle I'm ready for. Remember, your goal is knee on knee and both feet on either side of the hips. Very doable, very possible. If you practice regularly, you will get there. Definitely one of the things I've made a commitment to working on more in a more focused way because it's way more to work on than I'll ever have time. But this is a really nice way to start to change the hips around and open them up and relieve tension and restore healthy structure to the pelvis. So remember which leg is on top. We're going to do this pose again, but we're going to get into it in a different way. So every way that you do it opens up slightly different vantage points. So if you get on your hands and knees, and I'm taking one leg, bringing it behind me and opening up the other leg, and now starting to sit back. I'm going to get I'm going to use the bolster for myself. So I hope you haven't stopped just because I stopped. Here we go. And lowering yourself back. There we go. So in my case, elevating the hips is really opening the door to more access to what needs to be stretched out. So hopefully you've been staying here and doing this. Take note which knee is on top. Let's undo the legs. Change the angle. So maybe you're coming from a hands and knees position and lower yourself back again. So you're sitting. Oh, is that a nice stretch now? The higher I go, the more effective it is. It's marvelous. Take your time. By the way, any one of these poses, if you're ever on the floor, watch television. Get on the floor and change your hips around. If you can hold or develop a tolerance for being in a pose 2, 3, 4 minutes, the tissue really shifts. When you're doing more long holds, you don't want to go for maximum stretch. You want to kind of enter the entrance point of the stretch. Feel it, and as the tissue opens, you keep changing and moving into the next level. Come on out. Stretch your legs out. Bounce your knees up and down, and let's lie down on the floor for just a few more simple classic hip openers. Starting out, knees bent, back long, right foot in front of left foot. Now, we'll start again. Put your hands on your two hip bones and your pubic bone. When you bring the leg up, do not wiggle your pelvis around, because then you're not working into the hip, you're working somewhere else. If you can't get that leg up, you move the knees out. So when you come up, nothing moves. Nothing moves. Nothing moves, or I will yell at you right through YouTube. And then press this knee out and do not move. I don't want that. That's what I would say 80% of people do, and they're actually not isolating the whole hip socket and pelvic area. So you want that nice understanding of where are my hip bones, where's my pubic bone, how is my waist, and then what's the leg doing? That we're wanting to get into the ball and socket. Then lift the knee, so you have an additional stretch. Opening up the whole area. Put your foot down and drop both knees to the left. So notice that I have not changed the shape, but now I'm taking this top knee and I'm pressing it down. If you can get the opposite knee to the floor, that's wonderful. And I hope you do not move your feet at all. So it accesses a completely different aspect of this hip. I call it going to the dungeons because it can be very extreme. Once it starts to open, you get into the psoas and some wonderful, wonderful places that sometimes are hard to access. Come back. Don't change anything. Cross your knees over. I call this like sitting in a coffee shop, and drop again. So now you have a nice twist. Come back, stay like this, drop the other way, twist the other way, completely different type of stretch. Come back, undo your knees, take a moment to reorganize your spine and bring the other foot up. Remember, I hope you didn't move your hips. I can see, I know who's cheating, don't move your hips. Do me a favor, work correctly, press the knee away. Again, as you press the knee out, don't move your hips. Start to isolate what it means, how this leg works, and lift the other leg up. So you increase the stretch. Bring the foot down, drop to the side, and open the top knee downwards, away from you if you can. Absolutely amazing, amazing opening. Come back, cross, and drop all the way over. Come back, drop all the way over the opposite side. Come back, undo your knees. Bend both knees to your chest. Lengthen out your low back. Oh, that feels so nice. And rock side to side, massaging your low back. To even things out, happy baby pose, holding the outer part of the feet, rock side to side again. Take one leg and stretch it, bend it back, other leg out, stretch it, bend it back, both legs out, stretch, bend them back, and just for a minute, let's bring the feet slightly apart and the knees dropping inwards, and turn the hands out. So this is not a traditional Shavasana, but it's another way to relax the hips. Take a big breath in, and as you breathe out, allow the back to settle, allow the hips to settle, and then from here, lengthen one leg out long, lengthen the other leg out long, allow the knees to settle, the feet to settle, the belly to relax, the chest to open, the face to relax, the forehead to relax, the crown of the head to relax. And to finish, just roll to one side. Bring yourselves back up. Come to a seated cross-legged position, which hopefully is more comfortable than it was before. And let's just give thanks for this wonderful practice called yoga. Give thanks and honor all the wisdom teachings that are unique to us in our own path in life. And honor the inner teacher inside of each of us. It's always there for guidance and for direction when we take the time to look inwards and to listen to the truth in our hearts. And let's ask that we stay willing to face the discomfort, willing to face whatever challenges are in our lives and view them as blessings, as opportunities, and a way of growing and expanding in our spirit and soul. Bring your hand up to your forehead or third eye, down to your lips for a kiss, down to your heart, and bow your head to your heart. May your mind always be the servant of the heart. Then lift your head and open your eyes, and namaste, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed day.